Good afternoon, everyone. My name is JD Shuff. I'm a little bit in transit at the moment. Hopefully, those of you that get to see this recording will get a good takeaway from it. I met Matt Wilson about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and was intrigued with his presence and skill set, and we got to know each other through just being neighbors and spending time together. My skill set in this world is probably that of business to business relationships, account management, business development. I've worked in multiple industries, and when we are speaking to prospective clients here at Special Operations Contingent Group, I describe myself as Matt Wilson's civilian translator. We do quite a bit of a variety of services for a variety of different clients, and the solution that we develop together is specifically kind of in the world of institutional safety, emergency action planning, intruder response, what to do in these scenarios, what these scenarios look like, how EMS and our law enforcement agencies correspond with each other and with the institution that we're working with. So that's kind of the scope of what we talk to our clients about, and then we specify a very specific solution for that client. A lot of times bridging the gap between, say, at a large corporation, between your safety department and your security department. So, and identifying gaps in physical security as well as emergency response. So that's what Matt and I work together on. Matt has an incredible skill set that he has developed in our military, and he has worked at the highest levels of our military and in the special operations community. And his specific skill set is covert entry methods and everything involved with that. So I kind of think of him as a physical security hacker, and much like much like an IT hacker, when you're trying to build a great firewall, he's a great asset to have. So without further ado, Matt, I'll let you introduce yourself and take it away. I'm going to go off camera. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, JD. Okay, so that was JD Shuff. He's my VP of Business Development. Great guy. He does a lot of translation from whatever I say out there because it usually has some type of military acronym or jargon to it. He deciphers that. From my background, 26 plus years in the U.S. Army, all of it special operations. Spent time with the 75th Ranger Regiment, 7th Special Forces Group, and also Delta Force as an entry specialist. And that's where I got my whole start with the whole covert methods of entry and everything else. It also plays into, it comes into play when we're looking at schools or corporations or anything else. We're looking at from different type of eyes, as in like, how can we get into it and break into that school or whatever else as a bad actor. And so that helps us kind of reinforce from the inside and out, from their emergency plan all the way through with what we do. And what brought us to the point was the Covenant shooting, last year. And so that really spun up the team. We got everything working. We have a very good 5-step protocol for this. And if you want to go to the website is www.specialopscontingent.group. You can read more about it. So I'll go ahead and get started on our top 3 school enhancing security features. So let me pull this up here. Okay. So there's the logo. So enhancing school safety, top 3 procedures all schools need to have. Okay. Now we started with top 3, and we kind of start with we went through and found what was the importance of school safety. And we kind of came up with a top 10, and we wanted to whittle down to what all schools have. And so we started with top 10, everything from, your assessments all the way down to communications and everything in between. But not all schools are built the same. And with that, we had to whittle it down to what do the schools actually have in common? And so with the security, as I teach security or self-defense or any of the shooting events or anything else that we put on, I like to start from afar or distance and then close that gap. And we do the same thing with the safety and everything else. We start macro, go to micro for that. And so we'll go ahead and look at the overview of our key topics that we did pick out of the 10, but I will cover the top 10 so everybody can see that. So our top 10 safety concerns that we have would be starting off with situational awareness. I think that's 90% of the fight. If you can see it, you can do something about it, okay? Having a comprehensive emergency action plan, I think that's huge, because if you have a plan in place, you at least have something that you can fall back on and execute and get people to safety and to the safe room or out of the building and school grounds. Access control measures. This is one of the ones that I don't think majority of schools have, but there are still some schools out there that do not have an access control measure. Sometimes it's just locking the door. Other schools are, they're built like embassies. So you have a huge, difference between several schools on that. School resource officers, those are great to have, but again, a lot of schools do not have a dedicated SRO to them. Regular safety audits, that's something that I think most schools should get into. I think they're doing a pretty good job, some of the ones that we talk to. Cybersecurity measures, again, maybe the school isn't as, technologically advanced as some of the other schools out there. So again, it's trying to find those top 3 things that all schools have in common. Safe room design. How do you design a safe room? What do you need in there? What are some of the criteria that you're looking for? Mental health support, that's a huge one. Having the right staff on standby for those mental health issues. Communication systems. Again, what do you have? Do you have an intercom system? Do you have just phone and you're using WhatsApp, or is it a school app that you're using that everybody's on, or is it just a phone? So again, those are widely different between the school systems. And then community engagement. I'd like to think that a lot of the communities out there are getting behind the schools and getting involved in everything else. So I'll get to the top 3 that we have. Those are the top 10 that I kind of pulled out throughout the years that we've been working on, that these are top 10 safety concerns for that. The top 3, one is situational awareness. The other is comprehensive emergency action plan, and the third is safe room design. Those are the 3 things that I found that all schools have in common. That you don't have to have the high-speed technology. You don't have to have the SRO. If all teachers and the educators and everybody else is taught about situational awareness training, then that makes them more observant to what's out there. Comprehensive emergency action plan, having a solid action plan in place will really help with getting people to and from, out of the event that's happening. Safe room design, again, what are the criteria? What does that look like? So again, why are these the top 3? Okay, again, like I said in the beginning, we look at the event from macro to micro, or again, from a far distance to close up. Okay, it's all layered as you're coming up to the school walls, and then once you're in the school walls to wherever you want that safe room to start. Again, we start with a broad observation, narrowing down to specific actions. Again, having a well-rounded, comprehensive plan. Okay, so when trouble strikes, okay, where do you go and how do you get there? Okay, so it's understanding that comprehensive plan, getting you from point A to point B to safety. And then again, how do you protect those entrusted to you? Okay. And that comes down to having a proper safe room. Okay. So that's the three things that I saw that all schools have in common for there, that you don't have to have all the technology. These three things right here, if you have those in place, will really, really help with what you're working on. Okay. With the situation. Situational awareness. Okay. What is situational awareness? To me, it's having an observation, or having your eyes open, ears open, senses, taking in everything that's in front of you and around you. Okay, it's being aware of your surroundings. Okay, and that puts you in that situation at that time. Also, what is the norm and what catches your eye? Because as you see kids coming off the bus, coming through there and all that, everybody kind of follows a pattern every day. And then all of a sudden you'll see something that stands out and you're like, that caught my eye. Why did it catch my eye? So that kind of gives you that gut feeling, that sixth sense, maybe the hair standing on the back of the head, whatever. I mean, so play into that. Just don't brush it off. Really, emphasize that gut feeling, that sixth sense. Observation in your surroundings, okay, is super important to be aware of your environment. All right, I know for teachers and everyone else, when you go to school, it starts getting redundant whatsoever. But try to keep it sharp. Try to look at everything in a different view. Start looking at the parking lot one day. Another look at the entrance points. Start looking at your classroom. Start taking all that in. And as soon as you start dissecting that, you start becoming more aware of your surroundings. Okay. Another technique for effective observation, start using, a scale, okay, or the acronym for that. And the scale it pretty much gathers all the information that you need in case there is an incident that you can pass off to, whether it's your crisis reaction team that you have there on school, could be the director and his team, or it could be something that the director is passing on to the law enforcement, the incident commander. And the scale acronym is basically breaks down to sex, male or female. That's what you're looking at. What am I, what type of person am I looking at? Clothing. What type of clothing are they wearing? Is it camouflage, or are they wearing hunting clothes? So it all depends on what they're wearing, that you can describe them, so that way when the first responders do show up, they can actually identify the person that you've talked about. Their actions. What are their actions? Because actions speak louder than words. Are they walking with a purpose? Are they casing the place? So look at what their actions are doing. Are they banging on the door? Are they trying to get into the school? Okay. Location. What is their location, or what was their last location that you could pass on? So that way, when that first responder shows up, he can go immediately to right where that person was or is. Okay. And he can handle the situation from there. Equipment. Do they have a backpack? Do they have a weapon? Do they have a tool in their hand? Could it be a sledgehammer? Could it be whatever? So whatever you see in their hands, describe that. So that pretty much covers everything that you have in there as scale description. Okay. Another thing too is, with your situational awareness, start taking in certain aspects of the school, because in case anything happens during your event, start looking at cover and concealment. So if I have classmates, or if I'm in the hallway by myself, is there something that can offer me cover or concealment? And the difference between the two is, cover is something that's dense, that will basically it's not bullet resistance, but it will slow down or even stop bullets, or if he's got a sledge, or she has a sledge, they start beating against the door. Can that cover that you're using stop what he's doing? Concealment is just that. It's you're hidden behind something, waiting to move to the next position to get some cover, get some distance between you and that event taking place. Okay. And again, which do you choose? Again, one is, whichever is, available to you, use that, but also identify your next position and see if you can get, that cover between you and the event. Choosing your egress route. Okay. So start looking at planning your escape routes as you're walking along. If something happens behind me, what do I have to my front and side that I can go ahead and quickly get out of the way, or quickly usher students and everyone else out of the area? Okay. Know the multiple exits. If you've been in that school for any length of time, you're going to start picking up where all the exits are, your ingress egress routes, way in, way out. Okay, so know those, get to know those really well. So wherever you're at within that school, if something happens, you can quickly usher people in and out of the area. Your comprehensive emergency action plan. Okay, so with that, so what makes a comprehensive emergency action plan? Okay, so first thing on that, a couple things is one, having a planning team, understanding the situation for that emergency action plan. With that, develop your goals and objectives. And then from there, put that plan development and implementation into work for you and those. So let's look at forming a collaborative planning team. Okay. This involves key stakeholders. That's your administrators, your teachers, and law enforcement. For your admin, okay, the admin provide leadership and decision-making authority. So they're pretty much over everything. Whatever the teachers and law enforcement and everybody else kind of pushes forward to them, they can go ahead and look at that and start, deciding, is this a good idea that they're pushing towards us, or is there something that we can make better? Okay. So they're the ones that can really help, make a pivotal emergency action plan work well. Okay. Teachers are the ones that they're the front line. You guys, my hat's off to you. You're out there all the time looking, working and observing with the students at all times. So you should be the first one that the admin should start asking questions, start pulling, advice and everything else from, because you guys offer the insights into the daily activities and also the student needs. Okay. So don't think that you're just a teacher. You're more than that. You guys have a lot of insight, a lot of input and everything else for that plan. Okay. Law enforcement. Okay. Again, they ensure that the security measures are in place, that they're effective, and that they're also compliant. So having the admin, having the teachers, having the law enforcement, talk, have that open line of communication makes that emergency action plan that much better, because now they understand what you guys have in place and you understand what they're going to do for you and also for the situation. Okay. Now, speaking of the situation, understanding the situation, you have your risk assessment. Okay. And there's multiple risk assessments out there that's put out by the state, put out by the federal government, and everything else. Here at SOCG, we also do our own exterior and interior vulnerability assessments. Having that risk assessment right there gives you an understanding of your outside and inside vulnerabilities. Okay, and that's paramount, because now you can see, do I have the right protection? Do I have the right barriers? Do I have the right window treatments? Do I have the right locks? So, I mean, those assessments pull all that information out for you and give that to, the admin and the teachers and everything else to help understand, what do you have working for you and what do you have working against you? Threat identification. Once you go through your risk assessment, your exterior and interior vulnerabilities, you're going to identify those threats. Okay. So, and those threats can also be, what are some of the things out there? It could be an active shooter, it could be an intruder, it could be a medical situation. So these are all things that, you need to take in consideration and have those plans, comprehensive plans for those situations. And now, understanding and having that comprehensive action plan and understanding the situation, that's going to help mitigate all your risk and all those potential hazards, because you're identifying those. Then you're putting them into a document. That document's now going to go ahead and build your emergency action plan. And with that, that's going to help you develop your goals and objectives. Okay, so you need clear, actionable steps. okay, for these different situations and scenarios. As I said, you have your active shooter, your intruder, could be weather, it could be medical situation. So these are different goals, different objectives, different comprehensive plans that you're going to be using. Okay. Now, when you get into your plan development and when you implement this, you want to keep it. And we always said KISS in the military. We had a KISS method. Okay. Ours was, we just keep it simple, smart. Okay. So all you're doing is if you bring it down to the lowest level for everybody to understand, it's much easier to implement and execute. The more difficult, the more technical you make it, there's a lot more moving parts, a lot of things that people can drop or forget or miss. Okay. So remember, keep it simple. Okay. Smart. Now, once you've done that, then you start creating your detailed action plan. Okay. And once you have that action plan written out, next thing you want to do is you want to have a table talk over it. So that way, the admin, the teachers, and even your law enforcement understand what that plan is about. What I would then do is once you talk it out, have a good table talk, actually walk through it, see if it works, see if it makes sense and everything else, because it may look good on paper, but once you execute it, on foot and in person, it may not work. Okay. There may be some things you're missing or things that you may want to look into. Okay. So doing that, having what we call a rock drill rehearsal of, operational concept. Once you have that drill down, you go through it, you'll start seeing, yes, it works. No, it doesn't. Let's change this. Let's tweak it. And it may take a couple months for you to get that comprehensive plan that works for you. Okay. And that comes in the form of regular training and drills for that. Now, once you've executed that, once there's been an event, and then all of a sudden you implement that emergency action plan, that's going to bring you to your safe room. Okay. So what makes a safe room safe? Okay. Well, first of all, it's the design and construction. Okay. Do you have the right doors and locks? Are they intrusive, resistant? Is there structural integrity, okay, to withstand threats? And those threats could be anything from a sledgehammer to, a glass door. Do you have the proper film on the windows? Do you have the proper locks in place? So these are some things to look at, okay? Location accessibility. Is it easily accessible for students and staff? Can they get to it easy? And that's where we go back to, again, when we talked about when you're in your school, start taking in the, start looking at your school in a different way. Start looking at, if I'm here, something happens to my right and I have to react. Now I have what's to the front, back, or to the side of me that I can move to. What is there? Do you have the doors and everything else? So you want to make sure that all this is easily accessible for everyone involved. Also, is it easy accessible from the classrooms and common areas? So do they hold in place in the classrooms, or do they have to move from a classroom to another area? Maybe the auditorium, or maybe a library or something else. Can you get them there, and can you get them there in a safe manner? Okay. The other thing too is consideration of travel distance and occupant type. And what I mean by occupant type is how many students and teachers and admin can that room hold? Okay. So if you have 60 students, say you have, 2-3 classes jammed into one area, but there's nowhere to move and you're like shoving people in there. Well, I mean, that's, you got to look at that type of room. You may have to come up with a plan where this class goes to this room, this class goes to that room, and then you have an overflow. So these are considerations that you look at. Okay. Additional features. Okay. Is there a communication plan and tools in place? Do you have a landline? Do you have walkie-talkies? Do you use a cell phone? And if you do have a cell phone, and and this is where those drills come into place, go in that safe room, lock it up, and then try using your cell phone. Do you have Wi-Fi, connection? Do you have the internet? Can you send out a text or an email or something, or can you make a call? So these are considerations to make because, those safe rooms are great, but if you can't communicate, then you have a problem. Okay. Is there emergency supplies? Do you have first aid, supplies? Do you have, let's see, at water? Do you have any of those emergency supplies that you need on hand in there? Is there a backpack that you have full of those supplies, or is it just on a shelf in that room waiting to be used? Okay. So those are things to think about too on that. Also, do you have, a power supply? So if you have, your iPad, which you're using, communicate, do you have a power source to keep that running? Because if you're in class all day, that's going to drain that battery. You get into that situation where you're now in that safe room, you don't have a place to charge it, or you didn't bring your charger with you. That goes, the battery runs dead. Then what do you have to communicate with? Okay. So things to think about on that. Your training and drills. Okay. I recommend at least quarterly drills. Okay. A lot of the schools I see, they'll run 1 month, well, they'll do active shooter intruder. Next month, they'll do fire drill. Next month, they'll go ahead and do some type of medical or weather. And then after, it hits that weather, they go right back to active shooter intruder. And they keep rolling through that. So every quarter, every month or every quarter, they're hitting one of the drills. Okay. Another thing you want to look at for your safe room is also doing an inventory of the safe room items. And I recommend doing that, you don't have, you could do it weekly, you could do it monthly. I wouldn't do it quarterly because that's a lot of time in between, checking that inventory. So, and it doesn't take long. Go in there, check your equipment, make sure you have everything ready, and go from there. Some of the other, let me go back some of the additional features. Now, if you have a elementary school or a pre-K compared to a high school, you're going to probably have some additional features that are different. So if you're looking at pre-K, you might want to have some lickies and chewies, like lollipops or whatever else. Just, as the kids are getting anxious, you give them some toys or whatever else to play with. So these are some things to think about while you're in there for additional features. Okay. All right. So I know that was kind of fast and furious, but those were the top three that we saw that we wanted to make sure that people understood what makes a really good comprehensive overall plan for everybody. So your situational awareness, having a comprehensive plan and understanding safe room. So if you do all this for that again, this right here, all those resources are there at your fingertips for that. And again, here at SOCG, we also do a lot of those things for schools and corporations and also places of worship. So the information is there. Okay. So look at that. If you have any questions, please hit us up on email. Email is there from myself and JD.